Oh, hello, everybody. I'm Del Shores.
And I'm Emerson Collins, and this is the Del and Emerson Show.
Straight talk.
Real gay.
Hey.
Gay.
Hey, how are ya?
I'm so good. Y'all, I'm so excited. We have a fun show of LGBTQ news and nonsense. QAnon Queen Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, a videographer villain, gays on the knot, a church letter that you just have to hear Del Shores read. And then we have a very special guest today, Paul Southwick, the director of the Religious Exemption Accountability Project, will be joining us to talk about their lawsuit on behalf of queer students at Christian colleges and universities. A guest that's professional.
Yeah, and you know, if we have a guest, y'all, you know it's important because we don't usually like guests. I mean, we said it's just too much trouble. There's oh God, we have to send them that link, get a picture. Right. So we really are excited about Paul.
We are long past sharing this stage, but we talked about it, and I'm just so excited about what he's doing. His background is similar to ours, and he's really working on behalf of a very specific kind of student that is definitely our background. So we'll wade through some of the nonsense, and then he will join us a little later.
And some things that are not so nonsensical. Some important.
But starting with nonsense.
Yes, please. I know where you're going.
Announced that she's going to run for governor of California, and I'm so tired.
Oh my God. She said, I'm running. And I said, shut up. I just like, shut the fuck up. I am so, and you know, y'all, let's just be real clear. Emerson and I, you look at this show, you know how passionate we are about trans rights. We don't like Caitlyn Jenner.
My question is, who is her target audience at this point? Okay.
Assholes.
Voting for Trump and being a MAGA Republican trans woman lost the queer community. There's lots of bigot Republicans who won't like her because she's a trans woman. Like, who is the voting base? What weird group of like liberal, oh, you know who it is? It's those people who say, I'm a social liberal and fiscal conservative. You know, those.
Well, that's exactly what she claims to be, yet she continues to vote against her own rights by embracing the Republican Party. She continues to vote against all of our rights, anybody that's any of the letters, the LGBTQ plus, all of us. So I feel like, I mean, we disagree on this because we've talked about it a little today, but I felt like, oh, the Kardashians premiered. She's not allowed to be on there. She's got to get a little attention, got to get trending. So it's a little bit of an attention grab, in my opinion. But you think she's there?
Yeah, you think it's just attention, and no, I think that she's up on that mountaintop in Calabasas or Malibu playing golf, and thought, you know what? If Arnie Schwarzenegger can do it, by God, I can too.
Yeah, I guess so. And there is some validity to that. But I mean, but let's face it. I mean, you know, we were all like, oh, please, is he fucking kidding us? I remember when it was, yes, we know he won. The difference is this. I mean, there's a few differences. But one of the main differences is that we really had a horrible Democrat governor at that point who was absolutely doing nothing. And I do feel like that Gavin Newsom has made some horrible mistakes, and I have tweeted him and said, you hypocrite, stop it. I have. I'm sure I never got anything back from him. He never said, he said, Dale, I'm real sorry. I'm sorry I did that dinner party. He never wrote it back.
I'm surprised you didn't get a response to your opinion on his trip to that laundry place.
Well, it certainly hasn't stopped him from asking me for money. I will tell you that. That's the only time I hear from him. I go, oh, he's responded to my bad tweets. Oh, no. He's just asking for $3.
Right.
But California has turned around in a huge, big way. I mean, we were blasting him over the COVID mostly, but it has turned around, and we're doing really, really well right now.
But it is, and it's good, and we have to hold even leaders we support accountable for their hypocrisy. And it was horrifying to see him out at that dinner with a lobbyist while so many people are stuck at home dealing with mental health issues brought on by being alone for too, that's really real. And that was really right. But Caitlyn Jenner is not the solution.
No, Caitlyn Jenner is not the solution. And I'm just wondering, has anybody else, Emerson, you know more than I do because you follow, well, I don't know, a lot of stuff more than me. But has anyone else thrown their hat into the ring? I mean, Richard motherfucking Grinnell has not, has he?
He has not said it officially. There is actually, I was reading this morning, I believe there's a female porn star, Mary something. Somebody look that up, Erica.
Erica is our go-to source material. She works for the show now.
She's our live show research assistant.
Yes, we should just give her credit right now. Erica is part of the Dylan Emerson show. She is live research assistant. Thank you, Erica.
Now, I hadn't seen, because the way the ballot works is there's two pieces to it, right? There's one, do you want to recall the governor? And if so, then who would you like to replace them with? So you have to win the recall on the ballot before it matters even who's running to replace him.
Right. So you know what, Caitlyn? Spend all your money. Just spend it. I don't give a fuck. Just spend it. Put it back in, it's something, let's just consider it a stimulus, just a stimulus for the economy that Caitlyn Jenner is running for governor of California.
Sure. Yep.
All right. We will stop this rant.
But anyway, that's enough. And we're not mentioning it again until the actual ballot happens.
Okay. That's a commitment. I'll raise my hand.
We'll break it. She'll do some nonsense at a campaign event and we won't be able to not talk about it.
Well, I did do something I have to admit to you this week, Emerson, and I'm sorry I cut you off, but I made a commitment for 1 week not to go to trending to see why I can tweet hate to so and so because when Tucker Carlson is trending, it's not a good reason. When Ted Cruz is trending, it's not a good reason. I kept it for 6 days, okay, and then Caitlyn Jenner threw her hat into the ring.
There you go. All right, well, on to our news stories. Starting off, because this is really important and we want everyone to be able to keep their head wrapped around our bills segment of where the anti-trans legislation is. It's a mix this week, weirdly, of continuing negativity and a few surprising positive moments. I just said suppositive, like it was going to be a suppository. Did you hear that? Suppositive. Yes. But genuinely good news. In Arizona, Governor Doug Ducey vetoed that LGBTQ and sex education bill we talked about on Tuesday. He called it broad and vague and concerned about limiting sex education to 5th grade for abuse prevention education reasons. At the same time, though, he issued an executive order that went further than the legislation asked in requiring all sex education curriculum to be posted online for parents to review. So the review process will be much more complicated, but at least a win that the bill didn't pass. In Florida, the bill on trans girls and women in sports has likely died in their state Senate. The NCAA statement had a big impact. So we are seeing some states start to drop their pursuit of these bills. In North Dakota, Republican Governor Doug Burgum surprisingly vetoed the trans student athletes bill, saying it's not a problem and has too many unforeseen circumstances. And yesterday, Kansas Governor Laura Kelly did the exact same thing. So bills struck down by the governors. And in both of those states, it does not seem likely that they will be able to override those vetoes because they didn't pass the first time with a veto-proof majority. So in North Dakota and Kansas, it looks like those bills are dead thanks to their governors. And then out of Louisiana, Governor there, John Bel Edwards, has promised that he will veto any unnecessary discriminatory legislation. So it seems like some of the business pressure, the pressure from the NCAA in states that make big money from those events, are swinging the tide of some of these pieces of legislation into the negative category. So there is exciting movement thanks to the activists on the ground there and the pressure from the NCAA and businesses. And that's exciting.
Yeah, that's a really good update. When you sent me this morning, I was going, good. And I don't know if y'all know this, but I mean, I was down there when the race was going on. But John Bel Edwards is actually a Democrat in Louisiana, which is crazy. So that's helpful. That is helpful to have that veto power. All right, and more politics. I think I said politics. I didn't mean that.
This is our show about politics and suppositive things.
But I will get in trouble if I say politics and then talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene. They go, Dale said politics. It was a mistake. It was a mishap. So QAnon Queen, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's had quite a week, y'all. On Monday, she came dragging for the drag queens, just tweeting someone should be arrested and charged. Hashtag save the children over a tweet that said that children were at a drag club in LA, right here in our city. Y'all, I didn't even know that there were clubs open.
It wasn't here.
Oh, in Louisiana.
No.
Where?
The story thought it was. But it was in Florida.
Oh, it was in Florida. So, I see. She got confused just like I did. That's the only thing we have in common, y'all, is confusion. So these kids were just paraded across the stage by a drag queen, urging them to pose and strut for cash. The article had a video by noted bigot Angela Stanton King from the Palace Club in South Beach. In the video, you can see two little girls walking and posing with a drag queen, so cute, at a show. The manager told her the kids' parents had allowed it and that their venue was open to anybody. Love and acceptance for everybody, y'all. One of the things that launched Greene to the national level was protesting drag queen story hours in libraries. She had harassed a librarian, then streaming a 90-minute video from the library complaining about these drag queens who were just tainting our children, just infiltrating them with the devil. So this week, she also spent days trying to get people on board to expel Maxine Waters. Well, good luck with that. Maxine Waters from Congress. Then Wednesday, she tweeted, "I'm glad I ran into you today, AOC, to plan our debate about the Green New Deal after I finish reading all 14 pages. Like we agreed, I'll schedule time for our debate." So y'all just know that this is going to take a while. 14 pages for Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's a lot of words. It's a lot of words.
I laughed so hard at that 14 pages after I read all 14 pages.
Woo!
The average length of a bill in Congress is 15 pages, so she should be reading this amount on a regular basis. And it was like 14 hours later that she tweeted something like, "I read your communist manifesto." You know, communism's real big on saving the planet, apparently. And it was like 1 hour per page between the time she tweeted, "I'll read it," and when she tweeted that she'd finished. And I thought, okay, well, maybe reading comprehension, we're working on it.
Well, or she has to copy and paste it into one of those programs that read it back to you. You know, you know, that real stilted robotic thing.
Yes.
It's hard to digest that. Bless her bigoted heart, as Emerson Collins' T-shirt once was for sale.
But it's like what you said. The article said this club in LA, it wasn't in LA, it was in Miami. Angela Stanton King is a big old bigot who has a trans daughter. I believe she's on an upcoming episode of Dr. Phil where they took her there and she just went on a big transphobic rant. And I think she got banned from Twitter. And that's how it got all the way up to Marjorie Taylor Greene, who started her whole career protesting drag queen story hours. And I just don't understand that. It's just a clown reading your kid a book.
It's exactly right. It's so entertaining. You know, Emerson, you've seen me walk my dogs. They're always looking for a fight. They're just looking for something to just looking. That's Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's walking around looking, just ready to snap. Oh, not that, not a communist. Oh.
Well, and they took her off all her committees, so she's got nothing to do. That's why she spent a whole week trying to expel Maxine Waters, like that was going to happen. Like,
well, she had that reading assignment too. I mean,
that's a lot of homework.
Whew, she's busy. She was busy.
I appreciate your high energy this afternoon.
Well, I did a line of coke right before the show.
I was about to say, did you take a Provigil? What happened? There it is. You all, Was anybody else a little stressed out as he read that story? It was like, and then where's the next? I'm like, oh, it's usually me that's worried about talking too fast. I was like, you're about to come through my computer screen.
Well, you know what? I was I'm just driving Blake. Poor Blake. Is he there? I'm sorry.
No, I sent him away. I said, we got to write and do a show today. You should go.
He says, like, it's time for my hour walk.
He schedules walks and hikes for this.
I have to admit something. During this time of recovery from my shoulder, which, by the way, so good, such mobility, doing so well, but I get so fatigued around this time every day. I crash at 4:00. So I went out to lunch with our friend Dave Kirkpatrick, and I said, hey, you want a coffee? Just so I could manipulate him into pulling into Starbucks. And I, like you do, the same way. It's the same thing. I learned it from you, Emerson. Going on that app, bam, bam, bam. Walk in, it's ready for you. And so I started drinking this about an hour ago, and I'm still drinking it, and it really kicked in. So I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'll back.
You don't need to apologize. I'm enjoying it. It's usually me reading a mile a minute, trying to make sure we get everything in, and you own it today.
I know. Rob once told us to slow down. Rob, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Rob.
That ship has sailed. All right. Well, continuing on in the bigot brigade. I don't usually give this man any air, but this story is worth talking about this time. Tucker Carlson, one of the worst of the Fox News blowhards, went on a very bizarre rant on a recent show about a Washington Post columnist who he said was contacting old college classmates digging for dirt. On the show, he said, Jeff Bezos had one of his minions, a mentally unbalanced middle-aged man called Eric Wemple, pull our dusty college yearbook and call around and see if we'd done anything naughty at the age of 19. Well, it was shown the next day, and I'm going to show you the page of the yearbook. What was listed under Tucker Carlson in the yearbook, this little highlighted section you can't read, is where people list their activities. So Tucker Carlson was a member of Christian Fellowship all 4 years, years 1, 2, 3, 4, the Jesse Helms Foundation, and then the last thing is the Dan White Society. Now, a number of people checked online to see if there was anything else this could be in reference to, and it does not seem that there is, nor has he said anything to discount it. Dan White is the guy who murdered Harvey Milk. So whether a joke, whether some inside thing, because I'm not usually one to drag out, I don't care about people's tweets from 10 years ago. We all do better. We all learn. I've been terrible. I try to do better. But Tucker Carlson is still specifically terrible and racist and homophobic and transphobic today. So it demonstrates a pattern. But so member of a society of the man who murdered Harvey Milk, along with the mayor at the time. And activist Jeremy Hooper, who I follow, also from the same era, found a letter to the editor that Tucker had written during this time period as well, where he was extremely upset at the idea that you call anyone who objects to homosexuality a homophobe. He wrote in the letter, I, for one, think sex acts between two people of the same sex is unnatural and unhealthy. Still, I don't hate gay people at all. Some are friends of mine. I don't even feel like I misunderstand them. I just think that objectively speaking, homosexual acts are wrong. That I should be classified as homophobic because of my opinions on sexual ethics is infuriating and unfair. So even way back when, he was incredibly upset in 1990 that when he said things that were homophobic, they were called such. It's just so dark. I've made horrible jokes. I've made offensive jokes. I have learned things and done better. But that's just the kind of joke he was making in the 89, 90. And you still see that in the stories he tells on his show nightly to one of the largest audiences watching a talking head, quote, news show. And it represents a through line through his career rather than the change, that we see of other people.
But here's what's the word I'm looking for? Here's the rub with Tucker Carlson is that he has done such horrible things. I mean, remember all of that radio show, the misogynistic things that he said in his voice. it doesn't seem like there's anything that he can do for Fox to reprimand him or to put him off the air because he's just too profitable. It's all about money. I mean, he's got the #1 show in the nation.
Yeah.
So, you know.
And just saying whatever to make a big audience, you know.
And besides Richard Grinnell, I don't think anyone calls Tucker Carlson that's a homosexual a friend. I mean, Tucker Carlson's my friend. I've never heard that. Never heard that come out of anybody's mouth.
I mean, he managed to find those tokens that are happy to stand up and be the different. I'm not that kind of gays to come in and say something to support.
Well, any gay friend of Tucker Carlson will never be a friend of mine. I'll just say that right now. I'm just going to put that out there.
That's right. We should send that to them. We should write them little notes. Say, just so you know, you've lost Del Shores as a friend.
Yeah. Don't come running to me if you're friends with Tucker Carlson. Do not even try.
Part of me hopes Richard Grinnell runs for governor of California just so you can go to an event.
Oh, I'd love to go. I'd love to run into that motherfucker over in Palm Springs. I am not above throwing a drink in somebody's face and then just running like Leslie Jordan did in that Starbucks.
Come on, we gotta get.
I've never been arrested, but I think I would not. If I were to be arrested, they said Del Shores was arrested for throwing a drink in Richard Grinnell's face at Hunter's in Palm Springs. I go, okay, yeah, they hauled me off.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to risk it most places, but you might be able in Palm Springs to, not have the worst experience in that encounter.
Yeah, maybe. All right. Well, here's a very good story, and I just love this one so much, Emerson. It's Mean Girls star Jonathan Bennett, who's so cute, and his fiance, TV host James Wan, who's also so cute, have become the first same-sex couple to be featured on the cover of the wedding magazine, The Knot. There they are. Is that the cutest thing? Bennett posted, "Thank you to everyone at The Knot for not only helping us tell our story, but for telling the story of our community. From living in misery in the closet for a decade to being on the cover of the biggest wedding magazine in the world, living loudly and proudly with my fiance is something I would never have imagined. I can only think about how younger me would feel in small town Ohio, standing in line with his mom at the grocery store and looking over to see two men in love on a wedding, That doesn't make sense. Two kids on a wedding magazine. There's an extra. Representation matters. And if you just go to Queerty and just look at the video that they posted. It's just a beautiful love story. And it's like a movie. It's like a Broadway musical, y'all.
Yes, it is. Did
I calm down a little bit?
You did.
And just so y'all know, I made a joke about I did a line of cocaine. I'm way fucking too old to be doing any kind of recreational drugs except every now and then, 5 milligram edible. That's it. That's all I can handle these days.
As people, your head would explode.
I cannot do any more. No uppers for me.
That's right. No, and I love it. And, firsts in different places, and it's exciting. And of course, two handsome, white, cis, gay men. But you're thinking about the wedding industry is a giant industry, and there's so many magazines, and seeing us represented there, step by step, which ties us to, because this next story represents the opposite end of that. I want to show you a photo of these two women. It's because it's very sweet. Look at that. It's just the sweetest little lesbian wedding. But unfortunately, they had a frustrating experience. Clarissa Templeton and her fiance Tegan worked 2 jobs to afford their dream wedding at a farm in North Carolina. They booked a videographer through Tolman Media 10 months in advance, signed a contract. A month out, videographer Seth Carl emailed to get to know them. Well, Clarissa wrote on Facebook afterwards, she saw him at the venue when she got there that morning. It all seemed fine. But when Tegan came down the aisle to meet her, she didn't see him and she panicked. Afterward, the still photographer said he left because of his faith and that he didn't feel comfortable because it's a same-sex marriage. Clarissa said, I felt terrible, heartbroken, and like my heart was ripped out of my chest. We didn't even eat at our own reception. I honestly wanted the entire day to be over. I didn't want to be there anymore, and neither did Tegan. Afterwards, Tolman Media sent a replacement videographer, but they arrived hours later, of course, refunded their money, fired this videographer, Seth Curl, and promised to adopt a non-discrimination policy. But Clarissa posted later that Seth, the videographer, did know their orientation in advance, and his actions were intentional. She said, our out-of-town guests, dear family and friends, were unable to attend our wedding due to COVID. They were heartbroken that they couldn't come to the wedding in the first place, and then heartbroken once again when they found out there would be no video. You know, when we talk about, you know, eating pizza or ordering a wedding cake, and of course you can just go somewhere else, but this mindset, this man said yes and then showed up to make a point. That is so far past the generic brand of bigot we often talk about. This person came intentionally to wield their faith hatefully at somebody, to intentionally make their day worse.
Just a vile human being. And when you go back to the message of Christ, which is, you know, this atheist practices that it's about love. Ultimately, it's about love. And the fact that he, you know, they always say, what would Jesus do? What would Jesus do? He would not act like that. He would not act like that. He would have brought those 12 disciples and they'd been making wine for those lesbians.
Yeah. Well, and you think about, and
shameful.
And they cannot get it back. You know, there is no video of that day. This is a day for the rest of their life. And they will always think about this man will be tied to their memory of their wedding forever. That's the part I hate for them. You know, when you have something happen on a certain, you know, the day a parent dies, you know, tragic events become tied to things, and that this man will forever color the day of their wedding. It's like, I wish there was a way to like give that, to like do a do-over, you know, to let them have a new memory of that kind of bigotry attached to their expression of love.
I wonder if Seth Carl has been, besides being fired, if he has had any other, you know, hate spewed back at him for this. I mean, they released his name.
Yeah, his name's in the story, so I'm sure ambitious people have found him to let him know.
I might do some digging after the show.
All right. Now, this next one, it's a little long, but it was too good to not let you read this whole thing.
Okay, and you know I'm jacked up on coffee, so we'll...
I was going to say, breathe, give dramatic weight, don't rush the performance.
Okay, I'm feeling
it.
Crystal Cox, sounds like a drag queen. Ladies and gentlemen, Crystal Cox owns the Hair Bar in Georgia and has been a stylist for 20 years. She and her husband divorced and she started dating women, and she now has a girlfriend. Good for her. Well, the elders of the Woodstock Church of Christ, look at them, they're cute, sent her a letter about it, and here is most of that letter. Dear Crystal Cox, as elders of the Woodstock congregation, we have the responsibility to watch out for the souls of each member of this organization and this congregation. As we have previously stated, we feel it is crucial to remind you that our Lord considered it vital that no one can be involved in homosexuality and be in a pleasing relationship with God. In light of your apparent lack of desire to hear our concerns, apparent lack of willingness to repent, and the public display of your homosexual lifestyle, we have no alternative but to withdraw our fellowship with you and must no longer treat you as a sister in Christ. Please understand, this is an effort to encourage you to a godly sorrow leading to repentance.
Pause. What is this foghorn leghorn Southern choice today?
Well, it's Georgia, and so I'm channeling our dear friend Bobby Reardon. I'm trying to hear. You remember how Bobby's Dale? This is Bobby Reardon. How are you? Okay, so this greatly saddens us because while we can no longer fellowship you as a sister, we do care for your soul. Our prayer is that one day you will repent and return to the Lord. When that day comes, we will receive you with open arms and love you like a father received his errant son in the parable of the prodigal son in Luke chapter 15. If we fail to hear from you by April 30th, we would understand that you are not repentant and do not desire to be forgiven for your sinful behavior. That being the case, an announcement to the effect will be made to the Woodstock Church of Christ on the following Sunday. We will announce that we have withdrawn fellowship from you following efforts to establish a dialogue to persuade you to repent. Your name will be removed from our membership roll until you make life right with the Lord. Crystal, it is our sincere hope that our fellowship will one day be restored. When that day comes, the rejoicing of the Woodstock Church of Christ will only be exceeded by the rejoicing in heaven. Luke 15:10. Until that day comes, you will not be considered a member of the Church of Christ. In Christ's service, the Woodstock people. Crystal will not be returning to the Woodstock Church of Christ.
I needed to include almost the entire letter today because first off, Crystal's fine, but the number of things throughout, first of all, I see these 4 men and they signed it, and Crystal posted the letter on her Instagram with the letter, their signatures, and these men's phone numbers underneath their names. I'm not posting it because I just can't imagine the phone calls and texts these men must have gotten, and one, good for her. But they put a deadline on her salvation. If we do not hear from you by April 30th, it will be in the morning announcements that we can no longer fellowship with you, but we will welcome you back like the Lord like he welcomed back the prodigal son until that date. Okay. I was like, all we were missing was killing the fatted calf.
Kill the fatted calf, kill the old red rooster. I just remember this musical about that. Well, now, do you have any of the elders' names? I wanted to know one of their names. I want to call one up.
Yeah, hold on, I'll share. Let me see. I put the 2 that I could show without showing their phone numbers. Eric Dotson and Gary Kyle. Oh, whoa, the phone numbers are there. I didn't mean to do that.
Oh, please.
No, because we become the losers when you dox and harass people. Like, you can reach out to the church, call in somebody.
Okay, so if I call the church and I try to have some dialogue, y'all are okay with that. If I call them, I just want to call on April 29th, and I want to try to record it, and maybe we could play it, and I want to ask them, I want to say, I'm so concerned about Crystal Cox. Did she repent? Is she coming back? Are we going to have to withdraw her membership? Please.
I just want to go to the hair bar and have a session with Crystal and hear her talk about it.
I'm going next time I'm in Atlanta. It's Atlanta, right? Oh, it's in Georgia. I don't know what city. Maybe Woodstock.
I think it's like suburb. It's Atlanta area though. Yeah.
I just might have to go get my lashes and brows dyed by Crystal, and we might just sing hymns and change them to drinking hymns like we.
Look, you inspired everybody. They said, let's all call. Leanne said, I called the Woodstock Church and left a message. They have taken down their website. I think all of their social media has been turned off since Crystal published the story.
Can I just say, yay, Crystal, yay, Crystal.
Absolutely. But also the goal of these 4 men, they sat around and they thought they sent her the most loving letter. I always go back to, it's that love the sinner, hate the sin bullshit again, where it's like, we care for your soul while we are also giving you a deadline past which you are no longer welcome in our community. That juxtaposition, that hypocrisy that, yes, we often laugh at, but the people in the situation, it sounds like Crystal's fine, but so often people are given those kind of ultimatums related to their communities, related to their behavior. Nobody says, you divorced that man, you can't come back to this church. Like, whatever your view of sin.
Yeah, don't get me started. I could listen. You're wearing polyester. Do not sit there, Sister Beavis.
That's right. I don't know about that shrimp cocktail.
So real quickly, I don't ever think I've told you this, Emerson, but years ago, when I first came to LA, I attended the First Baptist Church of Beverly Hills, which is really in West Hollywood, so it's a bit pretentious. So I was still on the roll, and they 2 things. They sent me, and after I wrote Southern Baptist Sissies, they had sent me this this reunion thing, come to the reunion. And I wrote them explicitly, say, take me off the roll. Well, then I did an interview when we did I think it was the revival of Sissies, and the LA Times contacted them and asked them, is Del Shores, was he a member of this church? We just want to verify. And they said, the pastor said, yes, and we still pray for him. And I was like, stop. Just fucking stop praying for me.
Yes. One of my most successful early tweets was, you can all stop praying for me. Apparently my gay is stronger than your God.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a t-shirt if I ever saw one.
I just used to get so tired of that. You're in my prayers. Please don't.
Please don't.
It's a waste of your time and energy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, he's been watching since the beginning of the show, and he has not left. So genuinely.
Or laughed.
No, yeah, he laughed at you a bunch.
Okay, good.
But in very seriousness, and it relates to that story and to one of our big things of our work. So I'm very excited. You all please help us welcome Paul Southwick is the director of the Religious Exemption Accountability Project we talked about. He's an attorney. He testified for the successful ban on conversion therapy in Oregon. He's represented many LGBTQ plus students in trailblazing legal cases at the U.S. Department of Education, in court and mediations, and been recognized as one of the best LGBTQ plus attorneys under 40 by the National LGBT Bar Association. We are incredibly excited to welcome to the show, Paul Southwick.
Hello.
Welcome. Hey, thanks for that great introduction.
I'm glad we didn't run you off.
Yeah, no, you guys are really smart and entertaining. So this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, you were like, after 5 minutes, you go, ooh, what did I get myself into?
Right.
We promise we'll be professional-ish.
Your background actually matches a lot of ours, doesn't it? You went to George Fox before becoming an attorney, right? Share with the people how you got to here.
Yeah, so I went to a conservative Christian college, small little liberal arts school out in Oregon, and I was closeted at the time, doing what we called struggling with the sin of same-sex attraction. That was, we always like to use that term. And it got real bad. It got really, really bad. And I had some panic attacks. And so I had to talk to my campus pastor, and he said, your struggle is with the devil, and we're going to put you in conversion therapy. And so that's what I did.
How long were you in it, Paul?
2 years.
Wow.
2 years. It was a program. It was the first time I met other gay people. So that was kind of cool. But I was a little scared. And it was very religious. It was one of those Exodus International affiliated ministries, since shut down. So I did that for 2 years, once as a student and a year after, while I was teaching part-time at the university, and just worst time of my life. Completely.
Yeah, it's always interesting to me that a lot of the those that created and worked for Exodus International ultimately married each other and then came out lashing against Exodus International, which they just proved it don't work.
That's right. Yeah, so it didn't work. Eventually, I got out of there, went to a secular law school where I learned about the world for the first time. There's more than just the Bible. And came out, accepted myself, and I came back pretty angry. And I said, look, what you guys did to me was wrong, and you should stop doing it. And they kind of said, oh, okay, well, we'll listen to you. Years of listening and no changes.
Hearing you out. Mm-hmm.
No changes.
No changes.
And what kind of law did you start with? Did you start right into this, or did it dovetail?
Well, when I went to law school, I was still in that fundamentalist Christian bubble. So I don't know if you've heard of Alliance Defending Freedom. They're a right-wing hate group. Well, I worked there my first year after law school. Yes, because I was in it. I was in deep. I was at Family Research Council. I was at Alliance Defending Freedom, National Right to Life. I wanted to be, their champion in the legal field. And then everything fell apart about, coming to terms with my identity. So I didn't know what I was doing. I got a job at a law firm, big law firm, doing big commercial litigation type cases. And then about 2 years in to that, I started representing some queer folks on a pro bono basis. So that was about 10 years ago.
And for our audience, you know, we've talked about Alliance Defending Freedom with Kim Davis in Indiana. They're weighing in on, they write the briefs for many of the trans cases, the Family Research Council. It's very familiar to our audience. So what led to the launch of REAP?
So it's essentially a few factors coming together. If you look back over the last 10 years, you'll see story after story of a queer kid getting expelled, of a trans student getting denied housing, of a lesbian being sent to conversion therapy. And for a while, I was representing these kids, and it was, maybe a one-off. One case here, one case there. Well, 10 years ago, the world was a very different place. That was before marriage equality. The world didn't like us inside of the church or outside of the church.
Right. It didn't matter.
It didn't matter. Well, now the world loves us. And even the church, broadly speaking, loves and has recognized that queer people deserve dignity. But there are a few spaces in America where there are powerful institutions that have a lot of money and big time lawyers behind them at ADF and other places, that they're continuing to operate like it's the 1940s. Right. And it's just as oppressive. I think of it as it's like a bastion of oppression in the middle of a country that finally we have civil rights. And so, well, what is a young person to do? They watch Netflix. They see queer people on TV now looking happy. They see outside their dorm all these queer people doing their thing, and they have to be scared. They have to be quiet. They get turned in. I'm hearing stories over and over, Emerson and Dale. Kids, roommates are turning them in, snitching, and then they get expelled for being gay or being found out to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. And so it's big. It's a big, widespread problem.
And you think, we go back to our good friend Levi Christ, who was at Belmont, and his senior year there, he had also gone through a lot of conversion therapy, and then he decided to deal with it. And his roommate turned him in. They expelled him, and he was just short of his. And this was what, Emerson, 20 years ago, or maybe. Yeah. And then, and I mean, 20 years ago that was happening, but it's still happening, y'all. I mean. Yeah. It's still happening, and so good for you that you're repping these, and you've created like this civil lawsuit now, right? Yep. And where are you in that? Where at what point of the journey are you with it?
Sure. So as soon as I realized that this was really a widespread thing, we wanted to first we did a survey, and we found out that there are over 200 Christian colleges that discriminate openly and continue to expel people in the United States, and they're all taxpayer funded. And so that is the issue that we have a legal hook for is, if you're going to discriminate privately, okay, maybe, but do it on your own dime. Don't do it with taxpayer money. And if you take taxpayer money, then you should be subject to Title IX. And so our big lawsuit is a class action on behalf of the over 100,000 queer and trans students who today attend colleges that say their identities are sinful, are evil, that there's something wrong with them, that they can't date, that they should live a life of celibacy or conversion therapy. And so our case says, Department of Education, Biden administration, please step in here, and court, please step in here and allow these kids to get some basic protection.
And I see that you're representing a couple of kids from our, Emerson and I are both Baylor grads.
Yes, so, I spent some time on the campus.
And oddly enough, I don't know if you realize this, but we aren't their proudest sons. They don't seem to reach out to us for like seminars or acting classes or
anything. How that is.
Never done one of my plays. Never did Sordid Life.
They did.
I did get a text the other day from a sweet girl asking me if I'd made my pledge for Giving Day, and I wrote back and said, well, when you give official recognition to the LGBT organization on campus and allow same-sex spouses to have the same healthcare benefits as opposite-sex couples, I'll be happy to consider that. You let me know. I posted it on Instagram, and I had several other Baylor alumni friends showed that they had done like the same conversation.
Good on you.
With the same girl's name. I thought, this poor girl doing her work study did not know what she was in for when she signed up to Text Bank today.
Well,
Right.
Real quickly, I want to tell Paul that years and years ago, it was right after Matthew Shepard was murdered, and I'd given a lot of money to Baylor over the years because I got a free ride there, and I was very grateful. And they called me for my annual donation, and I said, I just want to know, what are you doing for your LGBTQ students? I need to know that in light of what's going on nationally with this with Matthew Shepard's murder. And this girl goes, oh, this is Baylor. We don't have gay students here. And I said, well, I think you may. I think there may be a few. And she said, well, maybe in the drama department. And I said, well,
she's not wrong.
I said, I'll just give directly to the drama department then.
And I can say there was entirely too much talent in the choral music department. But I did want to ask, seriously, you're representing students and alumni from some 25 institutions in 18 states. How did you find the plaintiffs?
Yes.
The specific ones.
Sure. Well, a few of them I knew ahead of time. And then I embarked on what we have called my rainbow road trip across America. And I took my Tesla from Portland, Oregon, starting in January of this year. And I stopped at 30, 40 different campuses all over the country. And I met with the young people there and I interviewed them and I asked some of them if they'd be willing to be plaintiffs. Some said yes, some said no. Then they would talk to their friends or they would tell me, oh, hey, I know someone over at such and such college the next state over. And then I would go over there. So I spent about 2 months on the road doing that. And afterwards, we had 33 plaintiffs from 25 different colleges, including several in California.
So I want to ask you, since you did that, has there, because I know that there was fear with a lot of them who said no, because they thought there would be repercussions. Have there been repercussions against these students, or do they feel protected and empowered by being a part of this lawsuit?
That was a very big concern. And in fact, 3 of our plaintiffs are using pseudonyms. So they're not using their real names, and the photographs we taken of them are from the back so that they cannot be identified. And they go to some of the institutions that are the worst, cruelest offenders. Because you got some institutions like Baylor, which is kind of like the happy, nice, discriminating institution.
Yes.
And then you have really bad, dark places like Bob Jones University and Cedarville University, where they will just kick you out at the drop of a hat and your family will disown you and you will be homeless. And so those kids, we are very concerned. And so we've maintained their identity as a secret. For the rest of the kids who are still on campus, by and large, they have felt protected and empowered by having this larger community. And you know what, Del and Emerson, this is probably not shocking to you, but nowadays at these colleges, the faculty are overwhelmingly pro-LGBT, overwhelmingly. The student body, overwhelmingly pro-LGBT. So who is it that they really have to fear? Mainly, it's the board of trustees and some big-time donors who hold too much control. So we try to step in and make sure that they feel safe, make sure that they've got a whole bunch of people behind them. The eyes of America is on these schools, and so that also helps. A few of them have been harassed online, though, by some of these, especially the Mormon students, the LDS students. There's this hate group called DesNat on Twitter, and they come after queer Mormons, and they came after our Mormon plaintiff really, really hard. And so we had to kind of intervene and first figure out protections.
Well, I am so impressed with what you're doing. I feel like that you're giving strength and a voice to people who don't have it. And just keep doing it. And I'm also really happy to know a lawyer, because every time I've said things and done things, I may just be calling you all, throw that drink in Richard.
After he throws that drink in Brunel's face, he may need some help. But I do. So what's the next date? Do you all have a calendar date? What's the progress on the suit? Where do we go now?
Yeah, so we're at the very beginning of our lawsuit. It's a class action. Lawsuits take a very long time to move forward in the courts. The biggest recent thing that happened was about 10 days ago, Alliance Defending Freedom moved to intervene in our case on behalf of 3 Christian colleges. And they're essentially saying, well, we don't think that the Biden administration is actually going to represent our interests. So we want to come in here and have a say in the litigation. So we're going to be briefing and arguing that the Department of Education and the Office of Civil Rights have yet to tell me what position they're going to take. My hope is that they take a position that says, we're actually not going to defend the religious exemption to Title IX because we agree with you that it is unconstitutional. But they have until June 8th to decide what their official position is going to be, and that'll be a telling date.
Okay, great. So if our audience wants to be useful to you,
yes,
is writing letters to the Department of Education, what's the things we can do proactively?
Donations.
Sure. Yeah. So our organization is called the Religious Exemption Accountability Project. Our website is, look at that, thereep.org. Thank you. That's beautiful. And yes, we would appreciate contributions. I would say that for folks who can't donate, or even if you can, what we're trying to do right now is get as many stories of discrimination as possible. So if you or someone you know went to a Christian college and you have a story to tell of discrimination, please email it to us. Go to our website and you can email it and we'll connect with you, because we want to show that this is not just a few people. It's not just 33 plaintiffs in the lawsuit. And in fact, since we filed the lawsuit, hundreds have come forward. And we want it to be thousands, because we know it really is that many people. So that would be really helpful.
Yeah. And it's real easy, guys. I went there today. You press a couple of buttons and throw in your credit card and you can donate. It's real easy to do, and it's such a worthy thing to do. So, we don't tithe anymore, Paul. So every now and then I go, well, my tithe is to LGBT stuff.
Well,
that's right. Yeah.
And also, of course, because you worked there, but the Alliance Defending Freedom has a big network of donors and supporters, and we want to make sure you have the same strength, both financial and in vocal support. So we will keep you updated with the various steps that they share. But follow them on Instagram. I've been watching the Instagram account. There's lots of places to pay attention that you all will share, right? That we can follow the steps of what we can do along the way.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we're very active on Instagram, and we'll be introducing you to each of the plaintiffs over the next couple of months, and you can learn a lot more about their personal lives and their own stories, and they're really cool.
Whoops.
A little internet freeze. It happens. And y'all check it out. Do make some kind of donation. Del and I have talked so much about our own experiences. And there are kids, you often talk about those kids that are stuck in those pews. These are the kids you talk about, the kids that grow up and come out and end up at these colleges, right?
You hear me? I'm back.
Yeah, good.
That's exactexactly right.
It's you're sort of like Endora on Bewitched. You just pop in and then pop right back out.
But because you have talked about, Paul, I've seen on stuff that often this gets missed by a lot of the big LGBTQ organizations because they don't understand how these kids end up here. And Dell's talked about it in his work. So many kids that grow up in conservative religious communities, that this is the place they're led to, and they only first start exploring themselves or considering that when they're at college on their own. And that's why they need that protection in those spaces, right?
I'm so glad you brought that up, Emerson. The number one question we get is, what the hell are these kids doing here? Why are queer kids at Christian colleges? But the assumption is that they essentially had complete agency and choice in going there. And that's just not true most of the time. Fundamentalist Christian families are not immune from having queer and trans kids, right? They have just as many as secular people do. And they're going to always send their kids to these kinds of institutions. So they're always going to end up there.
We were never taught that we could go any other place, my brother and myself. I never even applied to another college besides Baylor University.
And it can be even harder for those kids today because in a world where there is so much representation, there is so much visibility, they can feel so much further from the rest of us because they think there is an ocean between me and my little world and that big, wide LGBTQ world out there. So
that's and they feel they feel like they're the only one because the schools have made them feel that way. They've created that culture of fear and silence. So part of what we're doing at REAP is we are breaking that silence. We're telling those kids, you're not alone. There are a whole bunch of us, old, young, we're here. We've got you back. You're back. And that's been really exciting to be able to share that message with these young people.
Well, we are so grateful for your message and for you and for just stepping up. And I'm sorry you went through all the damage, but you know what? The damage is what got us to where we are today. And scream loudly. We have to continue to scream loudly.
Thank you for being a leader on this. Y'all check out the REAP at thereap.org, and we will pay close attention to this journey along with you. Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
I someday want to meet you in person, shake your hand, give you, and just love your neck, like we said.
Yeah. I would love that.
Be well.
Thanks so much for being with us.
Take care. Thanks, fellas.
Bye, Paul. Also, I mean, Lord, puts us to shame. What's our contribution? These 2 hours a week sharing the news with you all. And this is his job all day, every day, working for these kids.
So, yeah, I really, really loved meeting him like this. I thank you for that, Emerson. You're the one who got on that, and now I'm passionate as well. Real quickly, we have a quick update, which I love this update out of Clyde, Texas. Remember Tyler Wilkinson, the gay teenager who we told you about, who was suspended for wearing nail polish? Well, guess what? He has convinced the Clyde School Board to introduce and accept a gender-neutral dress code that now applies to all students. Wilkinson said, I am at a loss for the words, for the joy I am feeling on this special day. I am so blessed by the support, love, and help I have received through this experience. So yeah, go, Tyler. We're so proud of you. I mean, Trevor.
I was so impressed that he got that changed. I would not have believed in a million years that the Clyde, Texas School Board was going to adopt a gender-neutral dress code.
I am shocked.
Kids are changing their worlds where they find them.
Emerson, I know Clyde, Texas. I got cousins in Clyde, Texas, and I promise you that they're not happy about this.
They can hear it in the name. I love that. And then one other, celebration out of making lemonade out of lemons. Down in Australia, Mikey O'Halloran moved to a bungalow on Phillip Island in February, planned to give his house a new paint job with his signature colors, rainbow. I love that his signature color is rainbow. When the news of it got out, though, 5 men aggressively banged on his front door. He said one threatened to kill him if he painted his house rainbow. The neighbor across the street said, see what happens if you do. Well, the news got out, and 100 neighbors and supporters showed up to paint his house. Dulex gave free paint, and you can see the result on the screen. They did it all in one weekend. He said, after a hurricane comes a rainbow. So much community support and love from everyone that stopped by to say hello today or picked up a paintbrush and helped make my rainbow house a reality. But think about that. He is still going to live in that neighborhood with those people who showed up. Like, that is still brave. That neighbor across the street still thinks that. And those 100 people aren't spending the night with you. He is awesome for doing it anyway.
It's great. I love how he matched the house, his hair and his beard matched the house.
Everyone.
So, well, do we have time for this last one?
Yeah, do it.
Okay. Yeah. This is, and just for fun, there's a great headline out of Australia that says, Australia's first mammoth ass already turning heads. It clarifies the cheeky headline saying mammoth donkey moonwatcher, biggest ass of its size, arrives in Australia. Now, this mammoth donkey semen, you knew we were going to get there. It retails for $450. He was purchased for his size and ability to produce large quality foals. So good for you, you big ass.
I know. Mammoth ass already turning heads. Sounds like the slutty summer that everyone's preparing for with gutting the vaxes and getting out in public. I mean, y'all, this summer is about to be so much.
Well, is that all? Is that all we got?
That's all our stories. But y'all, we didn't do a commercial in the middle because we wanted to get to Paul. But if you enjoy the news and nonsense we share, You can send us a tip on Venmo to @EmersonCollins or on PayPal to beardcollinsshores@gmail.com. Thank you to Xana, Leanne, Bob, and Kelly for your tips today. We did also get a new iTunes review. Thank you to our iTunes, Pandora, Google listeners, now that we're finally a real podcast. And the title said, "The Kathy Lee and Hoda of Queer News."
Which one am I?
You are definitely the Kathy Lee here.
Oh my God.
I am definitely the Hoda, trying to keep it on track, while Kathy Lee's a little tipsy in that 4th hour.
With that face work. I had that.
If you haven't tipped, give it to the Reap today. Give to them before you give to us. Y'all know we do this because it makes us feel good about ourselves and gives an excuse to share the stories we love and think you need to hear. And thank to all of our subscribers. The podcast listenership is growing up as well. So we're going wide.
We're just going big and bold. So y'all, thank you so much. Y'all have a beautiful weekend. Do something fun. Do something sorted. And we will.
Yourself.
Yeah, we'll see you on Tuesday.
And we'll be back on Tuesday with all the news and nonsense. Bye, y'all.